Sam and Dave were a well-known American soul and R&B duo from Miami, Florida. They were Sam Moore and Dave Prater when they were formed in 1958. But after 1982, they were Sam Daniels and Dave Prater, so it was a different Sam but the same Dave. And this change of Sam was as a result of friction between them. In fact, the friction that had been going on for a long time before that. They are one of, or were one of the foremost soul acts and the most successful soul double act. However, they did not release that many albums. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the third studio album by Sam and Dave, and it's my first listen to it. The track that I knew on this album was Soul Man, and I think it's quite hard to be into music in anything more than, even like a kind of 10% interest in music without knowing the track Soul Man by Sam and Dave. So I would describe the whole album as being R&B/soul, and I would also highlight a particular use of gospel tropes in here, just occasionally putting stuff in that kind of come from the, I would say, from the gospel world. So my process, let's talk about that, when I review an album. I listen to the album once, and then I do some reading on the album, and then I listen to the album again. And what I try to do is to listen in different contexts in those two listens, and then and the reason for listening before reading is to have kind of a blind listen, and then an informed listen. But then, and I've often talked about that thing, but what I don't often talk about is the fact that then the next thing I do is I write some notes, and then I do this recording. But when I'm writing the notes, I often am listening to it again. So I listen to snippets of it, and I'm trying to decide which bits go at the start and at the end of the review, particularly. But also, I just kind of tend to leave it running as I'm writing these notes. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because as I was listening to it, whilst I was writing these notes, I realised something about this album, which is that the thing that I really like, they're decent singers, songs are okay, but the thing that I really like is the band in this album. Now, because it's soul, and because it's of that kind of era of soul, kind of Motown and other people, other labels, then the focus is very much on them as singers. But some of these bands that we used were house bands, and some of them were amazing. And this is one of those. This is basically Booker T and the MGs with the Marquet horns. And Booker T and the MGs, my first introduction to them wasn't even Green Onions, which was a hit for them, but was half of them were part of the Blues Brothers band from the Blues Brothers film. They've also got on this album Isaac Hayes on Hammond organ, who's a name that I know and respect a lot. So this was the era of house bands that I said. This was a Stax recording. Some of these other bands are good as well. This one is particularly good, though. And it's a good thing that I had them on this album because it gives a really grooving backing. So the singing's fine. They can sing. The songs, to be honest, often classic soul like this is best when you know the songs, I would say. And the only song that I knew was Soul Man, so I enjoyed Soul Man more than the rest of the album because of that familiarity. But it's still a pretty good listen overall. And that is down to the band, I would say, particularly. Not that they can't sing, they can sing well, but the band is what makes it. So songs about life, love, relationships, and bad luck, kind of classic soul content here. And yes, I enjoyed it. And at this point, as always, can you guess what I'm going to ask? What did you think? Please do tell me what you think of this album by leaving me a comment in the comments. I love reading your comments. I very rarely do this, but if you've liked this review, why not subscribe and hit that thing with the bell so that you find out when I do the next one. Speaking of which, the next one is going to be the album Turn, Turn, Turn by the Byrds. But that's it from me for now.
I know I was wrong so many times, yeah. And just like the average man, it's hard to walk the chalk line.